Hello and welcome to a new Oxygen XML webinar. My name is George Bina and I will be your host today. We scheduled a series of 7 webinars covering different products and technologies that we provide. And last week we had the first such webinar where we introduced a new product that we have, the Oxygen Feedback. The Oxygen Feedback platform, and the recording of that is available. If you look at our events, you can find in the past events that webinar and the recording. Today, we want to focus on HTML5 support in Oxygen. And HTML received a lot of attention lately. And many of you probably will be pleasantly surprised to see and discover the level of support that we provide for HTML. Even if that is not XHTML, like well-formed XML basically. So any HTML5 basically. So to present this webinar, I invited my colleague Octavian Nadolu. He coordinates the core development support in Oxygen for XML and lately XHTML, HTML, JSON, also the schematron and the schematron quick fixes part, schema support, and so on. But before we start, here it is some useful information about the logistics. So the answer to the question if the webinar is recorded or not is yes. The webinar will be recorded, is recorded already, and the recording will be available from the event page as well as on the Oxygen XML YouTube channel, where you have also a number of other video recordings, previous webinars, and other some meetup presentations and so on. Please ask questions at any time. You have a questions panel in the GoToWebinar interface. You can use that. We will try to respond to questions during the webinar, and also at the end of the of Octavian's presentation, there will be some time where we go through all the questions and discuss them and answer them, so everyone can hear what was asked and the answers to those questions, so you can get a better picture or a better understanding of the ideas that were presented. So without further ado, let me welcome Octavian and make him the presenter so he can start the webinar. Hello, Octavian, welcome.
So hello, George. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your presentation, George. So in this webinar, we'll discuss about HTML5 and we'll focus on the latest support that we added in Oxygen, on the editing part, content completion, syntax highlighting that handles this type of documents, querying and validating this type of documents. So HTML is the core language on the World Wide Web, and HTML5 it's the latest major version. It comes with some structural changes, like such as I don't know, you don't need to have codes, or some of the elements can be empty, or can have unclosed tags and so on. So there are a lot of structural changes on this type of document that we'll discuss during this presentation. In Oxygen, we provide support from a long time to publish in this HTML5 support in HTML5, but also in XHTML, and we have these projects that you can publish from DITA or from DocBooks or from different frameworks. Then we can now edit this type of documents in Oxygen. For XHTML, we offer full support. We offer author and text editing, validation as you type, and all the stuff that we for XML documents. We have also support in Web Author for XHTML documents to edit this type of documents visually. But in this webinar, we'll focus on the HTML5 support, and we'll see how you can edit these type of documents in a text mode or in the visual mode. We'll see how the syntax highlighting handles the HTML5 specification, also the content completion, the outline view that will allow you to display the structure and easily understand the structure of the document, and of course the validation that is done against the W3C validator, but also with using Schematron, and you can validate an entire project with all the resources from the project. So first, let's start by creating a document. So you need to have a document template to create. We provide a document template for HTML5, but you can define your own. We provide also content completion, documentations, and links to the HTML5 specification and code templates. So in order to create a document, I will switch to Oxygen to see how you can create this type of document. So have here a sample project with some resources, and I just click this new action from here, and then I can search for HTML, and I get this HTML document type. So I can just hit create. You can also define your own document type templates here and just add it in the HTML framework. So I'll just create a new document. This is a simple HTML5 document, has a doc type declaration and some tags, and it requires to have a title. Let's say sample. Then in the body, I can start editing this, edit this document and add new tags. And we notice that in the completion, the elements that can be inserted in this position are presented, and also you have documentation here in the right, and you have also link to the specification. And if I click this link, we notice that it takes us to the W3C specification, and here you get a lot of information about these elements with examples, how to use an anchor in HTML5 and so on. So it's easier to create if you are using this content completion. You can search in the content completion and insert the elements that you want. Then we also offer, if you are using control space here, the document templates are, the code templates are presented. These are the predefined code templates for the HTML framework, and we see that we have something for the field, for the order list, and for tables. So you can use these code templates to speed up your work and insert more easily content in your documents. And of course, you can also define your own code templates just by going to options, preferences, then search for the code template page. And here we have code templates for different languages, and we see that we have here those for HTML documents that then you can easily create a new one here. So this is how you can create a simple HTML5 document. And as I told you, it's content sensitive, so it presents the elements that can be inserted in the right place, are valid proposal, and you have this documentation and code templates be used to easier for an easier creation of the documents. Then you can have also more complex HTML5 documents that are not XML Wellformed and are according to the HTML5 specification. And we added support for this type of documents, like syntax highlighting. We have an outline view. We have formatting and indent, and keeps the document as it is without adding the tags that are missing from the end, or the missing codes from the document. So it keeps the document valid according to the HTML5 specification. And we also offer embedded CSS and JavaScript support. Let's start with the syntax highlighting. So for the HTML5, we have the specification, and we handle attributes without codes, or unclosed elements, or void elements. And we handle also embedded CSS and JavaScript content. So the syntax highlight, it's displayed also for this type of content. I'll show you an example in Oxygen. Let me close this file. And I have here another document. And we notice that we have here some CSS, and it's rendered with the syntax highlight for the CSS. We have here in this attribute some JavaScript, and we handle also this syntax highlight. And we notice that even tags are not closed. We handle correctly the syntax highlight for the document, or if there are missing codes for the attributes, like we have here in the row 1. Or, for example, if you are going in the title and here you insert tags and elements, then everything will be treated as a text. So in a HTML5 document, the title is just text. So everything you insert there, it's just ignored, and we handle this type of situation. Of course, you can customize all the colors that are presented here, and for this you need to go to options. Then we provide also an outline view that it's synchronized with the editor and allows you to see the structure of the document if you have bigger documents and you want to spot different things in the tree. And you can filter. You have also the error markers presented in the outline view. Let's switch to Oxygen, and we see here that we have this outline of the document. So we can see that we have a body, we have a table. So if we click somewhere in the document, automatically it takes us to the cell in the outline, so I can see on which cell I am, and I can go to other part of the document easily from just clicking in the outline. I can also filter. For example, let's say I want only the table headers to be displayed. Then I press TH in I type TH in the filter, and I get this result. And you have different options. Of course, you can show element name, you can show element text, or you can show attributes in the outline. Then we added also content for this type of documents. And as I told you, we handle this situation with missing end tags, and we do not add these tags automatically to the document when these are formatted. We keep the document as it is. You can we format also the CSS and the JavaScript that is in the HTML document. So for our sample file, I can use this format and indent action from here, and automatically the document is formatted and looks more nicer now, and I can read it easier. And we see also the JavaScript from here, it's formatted, and also the CSS that is added in the header, it's formatted accordingly. So if you have big documents that are on a single line, or documents from that are generated, you can format it, and then you can take a look and make modification maybe in the document more easily. We have also an action that will allow you to format the document, but make it also XML Wellformed, and add the tags that are missing and the codes, but keeping it like an HTML5 valid document. So if I go to this sample, I can right click here, and we have here in the contextual menu HTML to XML Wellformed. And if I use this action, we notice that the end tags are added for the cells and the missing codes, but this is still an HTML5 valid document. And if you have large documents and you want to spot some parts of the document, then you can use this folding support and collapse some parts of the document and focus only on the content that you want. For example, here, let's say I want to focus on the table header, then I can use these collapse buttons from here, but I can also use on the right click, we have these actions that will allow us to collapse other folds, for example, or collapse child folds, and I can collapse other folds, and I can focus only on this part of the document. I can start editing, and then I can expand the rest as I want. For the embedded CSS and JavaScript, we offer also content completion. So not only for the HTML editing, also for the embedded CSS and JavaScript support, we provide content completion and documentation. So let me expand all the folds. If I go here in the style and I press Control space, I can insert, for example, a background image, and I get documentation for this property, and then I can set the value of the property very easily. And for the JavaScript, for example, if I go here and I press Control space, I get the functions and variables from the context. I can also filter and get functions, JavaScript functions that can be used from the content completion window. Then we have also visual edit. So you can edit HTML5 documents also in a visual mode, and we provide a framework for HTML5 with specific actions and content completion support. In order to use this mode, you need to switch to the author page, and we automatically render this document, and we provide this framework for you. So let me close this file. I have here an HTML5 document. It's similar with the previous one, and I can use this button from here to switch to the author mode, and now we can see the document visually. So we can see that we have a table here. We can edit the table very easily. You have also actions to merge different cells, different actions here in the toolbar. You can use styling, for example, make some parts italic. So you have actions that will allow you to do different operations in the document. For example, I can insert here an image, and then a dialog will be displayed, and I can choose the image to be inserted, and automatically this is added in the document. I can use also the content completion. So if I press enter here, it will get me the elements that can be inserted in this place, and I can edit the document also from the content completion. Then if I switch to the text page, we notice that the modifications are added in the document, but also in this case, the document is made XML Wellformed. So when you edit the document in the author mode, we automatically make the document XML Wellformed, but still HTML5 valid. Then we added also this validation, and you can validate according to the W3C validation engine. You can validate an entire project, but we provide also validation as you type support, and we'll see also schematron validation. So For the batch validation, you can use this action from the project and validate not only HTML5 documents, on also the CSS and JavaScript content that it's in your project. And I have here an HTML5 project. Let me close this file first. So I have an HTML5 project here that contains different resources, JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. It's a data map generated using our engine, and I can validate it using this contextual menu validate action from here. And I'll get all the problems displayed in the results view. And we see that there are problems from different files and also from CSS or from other HTML5 documents. I can go to one of the problems, and this is presented in the editor. We can see the problem also on a tooltip and see, for example, in this case that we have an encoding set both in meta but also in this content. So you need to remove one of them. So if I remove this, the problem will be gone. I can also validate only this file if I want. So I close these results and I will get only the problems from this document. But you also have validation as you type. So if I correct some of the problems from here, the errors will disappear. Or if I add new errors, the error will be presented in the editor. You have also this range ruler that will allow you to go to a specific error in the document so you can spot it. And here we have another problem with some coordinates, and we notice that we have an extra space here. So we can just remove this extra space and our document will be valid. So if you are doing something like this, adding a space, you'll be notified as you type that there is a problem. And this is validated according to the HTML5 specification, as I told you. So we have these validation highlights, we have tooltips, we have this range ruler that will help you to spot the problems from your documents. Then another important addition in the latest version was this schematron validation for the HTML5 documents. So now you can create schematron rules specific for your project that are not related to the HTML specification, rules such as the number of paragraph from a div, or rules related to the title, or rules related to the content from a paragraph, maybe the number of characters from a paragraph, and so on. So you can enforce different rules on your output and make sure that this is handled correctly and be presented correctly as you want in your website. So I will show you an example which some rules. So I have here folder that contains a schematron, and there are different rules related to the table header that requires to have a link to a CSS in the header, rules related to the class. So in my case, I want to have a specific class for the body or for some of the div, or rules related to the number of paragraphs from a div, and another one that checks the number of characters from a paragraph. And I have also a sample file, which is an HTML5 document, perfectly valid, but I can also enforce these custom rules. And for this, I can go to validation, configure validation scenario, and then I can create a new validation scenario. I'll use the HTML schematron validator, and then I will specify the schema that I want to use, and is this schema that I have in my project that I showed you earlier, and then I hit OK. And I want to validate both with the standard validation, but also with my custom validation. So I will have both validator. And for example, here, if I remove this title, we notice that we have also the W3C validator that tells me that I need to have some content in the title. So if I add the title content back, you see that everything it's okay from the HTML5 point of view, but my rules are not correct. So here I have, for example, a class that is not correct. So I need to have standard body or std top here, and in this case we see that we have 4 paragraphs and we need to have only 3, so I can just remove one of the paragraph or maybe create another div. And I have another problem here with the number of characters from a paragraph, so I can create a new paragraph or maybe move the text in a different paragraph, and everything will be okay. And then here I have a style added, but I want to enforce the style through an external CSS, so I can remove this style from here and use the associate action and select my external CSS here. And now my HTML5 document will be valid also according to my schematron rule. So I can enforce also this type of rules and make sure that my document, my output is correctly created. And then you can apply this on an entire project, or you can apply this on all HTML5. So you can create some rules specific for HTML5 framework and apply it on all your documents. We added also support to query HTML5 documents, so you can query them using XPath, and you can run it on multiple files, on an entire project. For this, you can use the XPath toolbar or the XPath builder view. We provide also content completion, so we provide the elements, attributes from the document, so we can easily create the XPath expression and also the functions, the XPath functions that can be used. I will show you an example in Oxygen. So let me close these files first. And we have here this HTML5 project. And if I open one of the files, let's consider I want to find some definition terms in this file. So I can run this XPath expression on the current file, can type // and then if I type something, I'll get also the element, the definition element from the HTMLs, and I can select it and then press enter, and I get the result, and I can go to the definition terms from my document. I can run this also on an entire project. So I can use this action from the contextual menu, and I can say XPath and files. And here I run it on the selected files, and I press, I type definition, and this time I will say I want the class to be term. So I get also the attributes in the content completion, and then I run this XPath expression on the project, and I get the results also from the other files. So you can see the definition term from all the files. So you can use this XPath expression on HTML5 documents even if these are not XML Wellformed. Then if you want to publish these HTML documents and get rid of redundant bytes or comments from your documents, or from HTML documents or from CSS documents, you can use these minification actions that we provide. So for HTML5, we have this action that can be used from the contextual menu and remove the comments, compress it on a single line, and remove also the spaces between the elements. I will show you how this works. So let me close these documents here and open a sample document. Let's say this one. So you can right-click in the editor and use this action from the contextual menu. You could also from the project and say minify HTML. We see that a new file is created with this min added in the name of the file, and it compresses on a single line. It allows you to open the results in the editor, and now we see that we have this HTML document that is compressed. It's on a single line, but it's wrapped right now. So see here that it's only one line. So you can reduce the size, but keep it valid and publish it on the internet. Then a similar action can be used also for CSS. So if I open this CSS file in the contextual menu, I have this action minify CSS, and here it also creates a different file, and you can also choose to place each rule on a new line if you want, or you can place all on a single line, all the rules on a single line. So I'll choose to place each rule on a single line. You'll have this CSS compressed like this. So we have this action also for CSS. Then another important addition in the HTML support is this Emmet plugin. Most of the tools the HTML frameworks are using this Emmet support, and it's a tool for high-speed coding in HTML. Uses CSS selectors to allow you to easily edit and insert HTML document, such as this one. Here you type UL greater than li5, and this means that you create a list, an unordered list with 5 list items, and you can combine different selectors and create the content dynamically. I will show you some examples. There is also documentation that it's available in the Emmet website, and also you find some information on our website. This is provided as an add-on, but it's automatically installed when you first invoke the action in the editor. So in Oxygen, we provide 2 actions. We provide one action that allows you to expand an abbreviation, and one that allows you to wrap some content with an abbreviation and wraps the content in some lists or in tables. This is available for HTML editor, but also for XML editor. So you can use this plugin also in the XML editor if you want to create content there. And there are some specific abbreviations for CSS and XSLT. And you have some examples also on this link. I will show you some examples and how this works. So this is how the content is expanded. These are 2 abbreviations here, but let's try something in the editor. So close these documents here, and I have this HTML5 document, and for example, I want to insert some list here in this div, and I tap UL greater than li, and I want 6, let's say 6 items. Then I press Control Space and automatically insert this list with the list items. So you can use, I will undo right now. So you can use Control Space to expand the abbreviation. It is integrated with our content completion support, but you can also use this action from here, expand abbreviation, that will allow you to expand abbreviation without pressing the control space. So you can then insert, for example, in this some content, and you say, okay, I want to have also some text in each item, and I want to have the number of the current item. And if I press control space, it will generate this list with some items here. So you have a lot of things that you can do with this Emmet. This is more complex. So here you have an ID, it generates a div with the navigation links, and it looks something like this. So it generates also some IDs from the div, and from each list item I added an anchor that has the item number. So you can create more complex abbreviation as you start to work with this support, and it's easier to generate content. Then we have also wrap with abbreviation. This allows you to select some content like this one, and then use this wrap with abbreviation that will generate the content in the list in this case, or in a table, or what you want to insert in your document. For example, let's see, for this one, I will select the content. I'll use this Emmet wrap with abbreviation, or you can use the shortcut more easily. A dialog is displayed in place here, so it's easier to type, and then you can say, I want to use this in a list, and I want to have a list item for each text from selected text, and then inside will be inserted this content. So I'll just press enter, and a list with all the content is created here. And then you can generate more complex content, like here, have the content also in the title or in an alternate. So you can use this action and generate something like this. So you have an image with an alternate, and all the text is generated automatically. So it's easier to insert content using this type of support. The Emmet abbreviations are available also in the author page. So you can generate content also in the author page using these two actions. Are similar with what we have in the text page. So if I switch to author here, I can use this contextual menu expand abbreviation, and here I can type, for example, a list like we typed before, and we want 5 list items or 4 list items, and then some content and 2-digit content. So something like this to generate an item list with all the content. So an order list with all the 4 list items and some content inside them. And similarly, you can use also the wrap with abbreviation. So you can select the content and then use wrap with abbreviation, and you can type here something like this. I didn't type correctly. Let's say UL greater than LI star, and then inside the content, doesn't matter. For the CSS, we'll also provide this expand abbreviation. This is added in the latest version. We have there are some specific abbreviations for CSS that you can check on the Emmet page. There's one of them, so you can insert a font face very easily with all this information, just typing this abbreviation. And I will show you how you can do this in a CSS file. So you just type this abbreviation, and then you can use this expand Emmet action from the contextual menu, or the shortcut, and automatically the content is inserted. And here you have also different abbreviations that can be used in a CSS, such as, for example, for the position, you can insert, and then this is expanded to the position relative, or if you type position A, this is expanded to position absolute, and so on. So there are different abbreviations that can be used in CSS, and also in XSL there are different abbreviations that can be used. So as a conclusion, we have support to generate HTML documents from different frameworks. So we have this from a long time, but we added also support to edit this type of documents, because sometimes you need to insert content or make different modifications in this type of documents, and you need support to edit them. We added also support to validate, as you've seen, with using the W3C validator, but also using Schematron, you can add custom rules. You can use query to run XPath expression over not well-formed documents, or over HTML5 documents. And you can also compress CSS and HTML5 documents to publish it on the net. And we have these Emmet snippets that are very useful when you are editing this type of documents, and you've seen for different situations how you can use them also for CSS and XSL. So thank you very much for your attention. If you have questions, you can address them in the question panel of the webinar, but you can also send me the question or on our support address. I'll give control to George now to read some of the questions that you addressed during the webinar, and we'll discuss them. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Octavian. Yeah, so when Octavian presented the HTML support at the Oxygen XML users meetup at XML Prague this year in February, we were fortunate to be able to go to one event, actually to the XML Prague, where we have an annual users meetup in the last, I don't know, 10 years maybe. I was really surprised with the level of support, especially for embedded JavaScript and CSS with content completion and highlighting and so on. Then, if I remember correctly, when Octavian presented the HTML5 support at the Oxygen users meetup at XML Prague in February, somebody requested actually to have an action to obtain XML Wellformed from HTML. And that was already implemented in the 22.1 release a few weeks ago. Yeah, because that's really useful if you want to push that through XML processing, further XML processing with XSLT and so on. Yeah, before we go to all the questions that we received, I want to also emphasize the Schematron support for that we extended for a number of non-XML languages like Markdown, JSON, and now also HTML. And that's really interesting because if you are using HTML and you want to kind of enforce also some semantics or some structures, and then you use specific attribute values like the data extension attributes in HTML5, then having this schematron layer allows you to basically make sure that you follow what you really want to have in those documents, and you your business rules are followed. Yeah. So basically, what we tried was to provide kind of the same level of support that we have for XML, also for the not well formed HTML5. It had a lot of challenges that we managed to solve. So now going through the questions, do unclosed tags pass validation with the Oxygen was one of the questions. And the answer is, as Octavian presented with a number of his examples, with the different elements only with the start tag, yes, that passes the validation, like this paragraph that he shows now, and so on, because we use basically the validator that you use implements the HTML5 validation algorithm, so that will consider these cases as valid. Another question is it possible to mix HTML5 and XHTML files in the same project, all with the same .html extension? And the answer is yes. Oxygen will try to determine opening whether the file is XHTML, and will use the XHTML support, or otherwise it will use the HTML support. And we also have support to force opening an XHTML file as HTML, just in case you want to. And Octavian, can you confirm that?
Yes, so if you want to force an editor or a file to be open with a different editor, you have this open with here, and you can choose between HTML and XHTML editor, and also you can associate this with this. So you can associate the current extension with this editor. So if you want to use one of the editors, one or the other, you can change this from here, but we automatically detect, so even if the document is has attention HTML and it's an XHTML, we automatically detect this and we open it in the correct editor. So we open it in the XHTML editor. Also, the framework is detected automatically. So the document type framework, it's for the XHTML and HTML are different, and the validation is different for those two frameworks.
Then we had a comment about the Emmet plugin functionality, that this is really a good feature. And one additional answer or comment to that is that we implemented this also generically for XML documents. So you can use it on DOBook or DITA or DEI documents and so on. Following a similar idea, specifying the elements with the CSS-like selectors, and then expanding that to generate XML structures.
Yes,
Also.
and what I like in the latest version is that it's integrated with this content completion support. So if you type here an Emmet abbreviation and then press Control space, it will automatically be expanded. So and if you have other content completion templates that will be presented here, this will override the Emmet abbreviation. So you can overwrite this some of the abbreviation just by creating a code template with that content.
Another question, is it possible to convert multiple files, a whole directory, to well-formed XML?
Right now, it's not possible. We added this support only for the from the current file, but we intend to do this also for an entire project. probably using the format and indent support and provide some options to make the XML XHTML5 HTML5 documents well formed.
Are there plans for some form of tracking, such as of some form of tracking such as exists in Word page history? Well, Oxygen includes a Git client, or there is a Git plugin for Oxygen, which is developed by us, and is free to use. It's actually open source on GitHub. And it has also this support to be installed on first to use. So it's in a way already available in the latest Oxygen. There is an action to see that Git staging view, and then that will ask you to install the plugin. And then basically you can transform any Oxygen project into a Git repository and then commit on that locally. Basically, it will be just a .git folder in your project directory, and then you can keep track of history, different branches, and so on. So that's actually an option if you want. How many of these HTML5 features are available in WebAuthor?
Right now, we don't have the support in WebAuthor. We have only the XHTML support in WebAuthor. We didn't add the HTML5. Maybe in a future version. I don't know.
Is the Emmet add-on included only in the latest version of Oxygen XML editor? Do you have plans to release it for previous versions?
I don't think we can do it for previous version. We have it in 22, and we added some CSS abbreviation. The CSS abbreviation were added in 22.1. So starting with 22, we'll provide the support, but for the previous version, we do not have the API to integrate this add-on.
Another question. How compatible is this with Oxygen Web Help plugin? Well, the Oxygen Web Help plugin generates HTML5 or responsive, and which is also probably XHTML.
There are XHTML documents, yes, for web help generated. So they're already well-formed documents.
But the support for HTML5 basically it's orthogonal to the web help. So web help generates HTML5, which is also XHTML, so XML well-formed, and the HTML5 support and XHTML support in Oxygen is able to load such documents, process them, query them with the XPath, check them with Schematron, and so on. So, but they are orthogonal in a way. So it's, you can say it's compatible, but one is the output and the other is support for that format, for that output format. Can author mode be seen parallel to the text mode? So in the same time, basically like we do for the Markdown preview, I guess. It's a question that asks something like that. For the Markdown editor, we have a live preview that shows visually the rendered HTML or the rendered data content. So the question asks whether it's possible to see the HTML source and the rendering probably.
Yes, right now it's not possible. Maybe we can split two editors. We can do also this displaying in a different page. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have the split editor functionality on the source,
And
but then In this mode, that works only in text mode.
Yes. Maybe we can split editors, but keep also the pages. So right now it's not possible. Yeah.
But when you switch to the author mode, the current location is synchronized. So, if you have like a larger document, you should be able to immediately see exactly the part where you have the caret, so the part that you are editing, let's say. So that's something that's useful, I guess. Okay, so I think we went through all the questions we received so far. Let me become the presenter and let's move a bit to the upcoming events. So as I mentioned, because of this situation with the not being able to travel and many of the events that we planned were canceled. I mean, all of them that were planned, we planned almost all of them that we planned for this year were canceled. There are still a few in October, November that are still supposedly to take place. We scheduled a number of webinars, and we have one every week at the same time on Wednesdays. Next week, we will focus on the JSON and JSON schema support in Oxygen XML editor. The following week, we'll go to the Markdown support. Again, you will be surprised with the level of support that we provide for these formats. If you didn't check them recently in Oxygen. And then we will go back a bit to the authoring part with getting started with data using Oxygen XML editor. We will have also plans for a follow-up webinars on data to cover also a bit more advanced topics, but we will start with this getting started. Then we'll look a bit into the web author and Content Fusion, Oxygen Content Fusion collaboration platform. So hopefully you will be able to join us also during the following weeks, Wednesday at the same time for additional Oxygen XML webinars. You can find more information on the upcoming events or webinars and also under the past events on our events page. So this is reachable from company events also on the website. And here you have the upcoming webinars where you can register, and under past events, then you have, like I mentioned, the previous webinar from this series. If you click on this, then you have the slides and the recording available, so you can see also if you missed one of the events, you can get a chance to see the recording also. With this, I want to thank you again and thank you, Octavian, for presenting. And as I mentioned, looking forward to see you at one of the upcoming online events and maybe, hopefully, also soon at a real in-person event. Thanks again and goodbye for now.
Thank you for your attention, and I'll wait you for the next webinar. Next week will be this JSON support presented also by me. So hope we'll enjoy also the JSON support and JSON schema. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.